From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, how are you today? It's good to be back for another episode.
I'm doing great. And yes, it's always great to be back. And I don't know, it seems like we're matching today.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is something that's going to be happening in a few weeks. And James and I will finally get some time together again in person. And that event is going to be InfoComm 2023. And if you followed us the last couple of episodes, we've been talking with some people who are either in programmer roles or in position to be going to InfoComm. James and I even did a episode ourselves about what we're expecting and some tips, but we're going to continue that today with a first timer and somebody who is very familiar to me because he's on my team here at Control Concepts, and he's Mike Spadafora. He's one of our software developers. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. And Mike, if you would, you're not new to the industry. You've been doing programming for a few years, but you've had several different roles. Why don't you give a little bit of background to what's gotten you to where you are currently?
Sure. Yeah, I've been in the AV industry for almost 10 years now. I started off as an install tech. I worked for an integrator, fabricating racks, field commissioning, a little bit of everything, DSP programming. And when I was still at the first integrator, I moved into programming, just doing Crestron programming, and still pretty much holding down every other role that I did. So doing a little bit of everything. And then, 3.5 years ago, I found Control Concepts and dove into the software development world, and here we are.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. So one of the things that, is pretty neat is that this is going to be your first year going InfoComm with our team, and this is an opportunity that is going to be new, and it's interesting how you've been in the industry for a long time, and it's not something that you've had experience doing. Tell me a little bit about what interests you about going to the show, and maybe something that you're expecting to get out of it.
Sure. Yeah. Like I said before, I've been in the industry for 10 years and still haven't had a chance to go. But I'm really looking forward to meeting a lot of the people that I get to talk with virtually all the time. And I know I've already talked to people today who I've been communicating with via email, Zoom calls for the last few years. And they're like, "Oh, you're going to InfoComm?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually going this year." So I'm really looking forward to meeting people. Just expanding my network, putting some faces to the names I see floating around for the last decade. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it.
James, I would call you an InfoComm veteran already. It's only been a couple of years for you, but you've really done a great job of establishing yourself, and you really, we've talked about this on the show a lot. Is you had a strategy, and you really came with some goals in mind. For somebody like Mike in his position, not knowing what to expect, what are some of the things that you would offer to him, and either a couple of tips or something that would make his experience most beneficial?
So weird to hear veteran, because this will only be my third InfoComm, with the first one being the unicorn October one that we really should go back to, but we know Vix won't. But my words of advice would be, take every opportunity to network as much as you can. Sounds like Mike is already working on that, meet people there, because I did that my first year, and that was a good way to springboard and make connections to other people besides the people in your circle.
Mike, you and I have talked a lot, but now, getting a chance to speak with another person who may be closer to your shoes. I've gone to quite a number of InfoComms, and I almost had to miss one because of a life event, but fortunately I will be in attendance this year. But I find them extremely valuable, but what would you ask of somebody like James who may be a little newer to the party and somebody who is closer to being in your shoes?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I know our team is apparently we pack our schedule pretty full. So I guess like my biggest question is like, how do you usually go about like scheduling your time there, making sure that you're going to get the most out of the day? Because from what it sounds like, we're going to be, you know, uh, trying to squeeze a lot in, and I just want to make sure that I hit everything that I should be getting to and meeting the people I should meet. So yeah, so I guess my main question is like, what do you do to prepare like your schedule? Do you reach out and schedule meetings with people? Explain that a little bit.
So my first year, I was very unknown, I would say. So I didn't have many requests for meetings and all that stuff. So my schedule was really flexible, and I kind of liked that. And I still kind of go with that mindset of being flexible, and also purposely making connections to people and companies that I don't talk to every day. Especially now where I'm at with UNLV, the School of Medicine. If I want to talk to my, I don't know, with this restaurant or reps in, or if I want to talk to a rep, I'm going to talk to them. I mean, I can probably call them up and have a meeting with them today.
Right.
Why do I need to fly to Florida to have that same meeting? So I'm going to look at those companies that I don't have opportunity, that I don't talk to every day, and build that connection, because you never know when a partnership might come in handy.
Totally. That makes sense.
I like that. It For me, I personally like the schedule because I find that I can be very easily distracted, and I'll find that the day will pass me by, and I don't have enough tangible things to say that I accomplished. And it happens often when I don't have enough structure in my schedule. And as you get to attend more, you'll get to know a lot more people, and you'll have those random collisions and conversations, and you may end up deciding that you're going to walk down this aisle 4 booths, and it could take you an hour to get there. So that to me, that's why it's important. And I actually think it's nice to have somebody who could be with you to help to say, hey, listen, we have an appointment. Unfortunately, we have to get going. And just as another tip that came to mind right now, I've been told that while it's great to have lengthy conversations with people, make sure that you manage them, because you want to be able to talk to a lot of people. So you have to be mindful of that you don't want to get stuck in too long of a conversation with somebody and then miss out on talking to 3 or 4 other people that may be in the same place that you may not get to see again because of the randomness of the show.
The randomness of the show is definitely a challenge, I would say. I've talked about this, and it's so vivid in my mind. Is last year InfoComm in Vegas, Tim Van Werf and I were talking, and I'm like, have you swung by the audience booth yet? And he's like, no, it's on my way. I was like, oh, you got to check out what they're doing. Plus, we got to, talk with Frank. We all know Frank Paticata, IT Factor, great guest on this show. But we were catty corner from the audience booth. We could physically see them, and we were walking there, and we got stopped by Gina. I want to say it was Gina. So Tim and I were talking to Gina, and then all of a sudden we look at our watch, and we're like, oh, we got to be across to the other hall to have a meeting. So we never actually got to the audience booth, even though we could physically see it. And we, like I said, probably reach out and touch it. We just never got there.
Not uncommon for sure, and especially when you meet some friends, that happens quite a bit. Mike, what are some things that you're personally doing to prepare? Like what are something that you've done to get yourself ready and to say that you're up for this InfoComm challenge that we're about to have.
Well, first and foremost, I'm buying a bunch of new pants because I realized I don't have any nice pants. So I need some nice pants to go to InfoComm in. I'm usually a shorts or jeans guy, and I want to dress to impress a little bit. So went to oldnavy.com, got some new chinos. They came in, they're a little too big, so I'm going to send them back. Get some tighter ones to fit a little better, and that's that's the main thing. Let's see. I know I need to get some new business cards. This is going to be a huge networking event, obviously. So if I go without business cards, that would look pretty silly. And I got a nice new little backpack because I know I'm going to have to carry around water, probably a laptop or a tablet, some control concepts, goodies and stuff like that to give to people. So I got a nice, new professional looking backpack, and yeah, it's pretty much just revamping my entire style so I am more presentable to the world. So that's my biggest preparation tip that I would have for other people going for the first time too.
Don't underestimate the shoes.
That's right. Yeah. Oh yeah. I actually always wear trail runners anyway because I'm an outdoorsy kind of guy. So I'm just going to pick up a new pair of trail runners and my feet will be comfortable, breathable. If there's any crazy terrain that happens, again, I've never been, I don't know, what the convention hall is like, but I won't be slipping and sliding.
Very nice.
Also, make sure you bring a battery charger for your phone.
Yes, I actually got my backpack actually has the USB thingamabob in there, so I can charge my phone, without having to actually access the battery pack. So that will be cool.
Very cool. From I guess a technology or exhibitor standpoint, without naming names, is there anything that you're looking in particular to see or excited to meet with?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, but I've been thinking more, I guess, about the people I'm going to see rather than the showcases of new products and stuff like that. But I'm always since I'm so entrenched in the commercial world, and I have been for the last decade, I really enjoy seeing actually a lot of the new residential products, just because it kind of gives me a glimpse into that world a little bit more. And when there's things that you don't know as much about, it's always good to take a look to see what they have to offer, so you can kind of keep your eye on different markets that aren't necessarily ones that you work in. So I mean, and then also the nerdy stuff in me, I want to see a nice 8K TV, but but yeah, I mean, it's just really just seeing the new tech. I like to see I know camera tracking has been a huge thing lately, so I'd really like to see what different manufacturers are doing to fit that demand, because I know pretty much everybody I talk to is looking for a solution where the camera is just going to follow somebody around. And obviously, without naming names, there's companies who do it really well. There's other companies who are trying to get into it. So it's kind of just it's nice to see what the the people who are competing with each other are trying to do to one up each other, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I got one here now. Let's pretend that Steve's not here. We know with Steve being the owner of Control Concept. You are going as a programmer to InfoComm.
Mm-hmm.
What are you aiming to bring back that you can justify to your boss that it was valuable for you as a programmer to be there?
I mean, so since I haven't gone, I really don't know everything, that I'm going to be running into. But what I would really like to do is, I'm good at meeting people for the first time. So if there's, a certain manufacturer or somebody that's been kind of on our radar and we've had a hard time getting in touch with them, I have no problem going up and saying, hey, we want to work with you, and you probably want to work with us. So let's talk. Stuff like that. Definitely meeting some of the more technical people that I might have not had a chance to, work with directly or, virtually, and building a better relationship with them, just so that like when, projects or, any kind of ask comes up on their end, they think of us, as opposed to somebody else that's not us. So yeah, just really, being a good face for the company and going out there and making a good impression, I think is, probably my biggest goal. Because I want, people to like us, like the company, and like the work we do.
That's a good answer.
I'll kind of ask you, James, and then Mike can follow up. What do we need to do to get more programmers involved in in industry events like this or trade shows? And is it I know not to ask two-part questions, but I will say, is it a function of the programmer not wanting or not knowing that they should go, or is it the fact that they're not thought of as somebody who should be going?
So I think this is even though it's a two-part question, I think they kind of go hand in hand. One, for programmers, yeah, I sadly, I hate, it used to be, oh, that's a person, that's a programmer. They're in the corner, they're on the paint bucket. Don't mess with the man behind or the person behind the curtain, type deal. And just like our code, it's behind the scenes, we're kind of behind the scenes. So yes, programmers tend to get overlooked when you're looking at trade shows. But I think in general, what trade shows needs to do, and this is on manufacturer side, is less sales people and more technical people. Because as programmers, that we don't want to talk to salespeople. Nothing wrong with salespeople. We love salespeople, but we really need to get to the engineers, the technical people that we can, hey, talk about APIs and talk about integration and talk about the challenges that the salespeople, they don't care about that. Like, that's not their bread and butter. And so we need more engineers, more technical people to show that we are getting value at attending these shows, because salespeople are just going to sell, and programmers may not be dealing with the sales end of their job. They're dealing with the coding and the API and the integration. So that's where they need to get their value, and they can do that by manufacturers, by bringing more of those technical people to the shows to have us talk to them.
So Mike, I'll kind of use a different variation of the question. What James, I guess, is saying is that what's really nice about InfoComm is that you don't just go there and it isn't just like a networking event, or it's not just an opportunity for manufacturers to be pitching their products, but more so they bring some of the people that are behind the scenes to be able to talk with other people like them about technical issues and topics. And quite honestly, he brings up a good point. A lot of the engineers at the manufacturers that come to these shows, they usually don't get out either. They're usually the ones, and the reason that they come is because their companies want them to get exposed to what people are saying and asking for. So then from the standpoint of a programmer, what do you think would help to get more programmers going to these types of events? Do they have to raise their hand and ask, or is it something that their leadership needs to be more educated on the importance of bringing them?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a mix of things. I agree with James. Like, a lot of people who are in, the programming roles, like, they don't really want to be bothered, right? They're like, oh, like, what am I going to do? Go to an event and talk to a bunch of salespeople? Like, no, thanks. But, I think that if the show was, more, I guess, partially geared towards the engineering aspect, instead of, like, manufacturers saying like, hey, like, we want to sell you this, we want to sell you that, and salespeople go and say like, hey, like, what can you offer us? What can you offer us? It'd be really cool to see, engineers talking to engineers, because when you have when you have that kind of conversation going, that's when like the really cool ideas start coming up. It's like, hey, like, I've been using your product for a while and I noticed like, we're running into this, and this, and like, it would be really helpful if your product did X, Y, Z. And that's when like you really start, getting information that's going to, not only benefit the programmers and getting more information about the products that they're going to be interfacing with, but, a lot of times engineers don't really have the opportunity to talk to people who are actually using the stuff that they create. And that's something we run into, here, right? Like we manufacture, we develop plugins and modules and drivers. Like how often do we get to talk to the people who actually use them? Probably never, unless they're calling in for support. So this would be like a great opportunity for people just to have like a conversation with each other without there being like, a boot on their throat and they're trying to get a project done, right? So I think that I think if the show kind of opened up that floor for engineers a little bit more, I think you would start seeing a lot more engineers going, because then there would actually be values for companies to send their engineers there.
I think that's really great advice, probably for Avixa to hear, and for more companies to understand, because until we had this conversation, although I've been and I've seen this happen, it didn't dawn on me the fact that we really need to put the right people in the room together, and that the perception might be that this is just a sales-based event, but it really isn't. It's more, there's not only a technology perspective, but you have to put the people who are actually doing hands-on work together in the same place at the same time.
Right. And I mean, it's definitely beneficial for manufacturers too, because, their products are only as good as the people rolling them out. Right. So, not to say that anybody's products are inherently bad. It's just, that you want your product to work well, then you need programmers and stuff to make them work. And, getting that kind of stage set up so where, engineers can talk, I think is definitely going to benefit everybody.
I think we're going to leave this one at that, because I think that's a really good point. And Mike, what we're going to do, if you're up for it, is probably invite you back after the show just to see what your experience has been. And I think it would be really good to reflect back and see what you could offer to people who are looking to go in the future, and also how much of what you thought you were going to experience it lines up with what you did.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love that.
So thanks for being with us today. How can people get in touch with you, potentially meet up with you at InfoComm, or learn more about Control Concepts?
Sure. So yeah, to learn more about Control Concepts, you can just go to controlconcepts.net. And I believe my contact information should be on there, but if you don't feel like digging through to find it, you can reach me at Mike S, as in Spadafora, at controlconcepts.net, or find me on LinkedIn. I'm on there posting stuff. So yeah, you just reach out if you want to meet up at InfoComm. I'm more than happy to meet anybody who wants to talk.
Absolutely. And please follow Mike and connect with him. And you're going to have some great conversations, not only about control, but about audio, because he's got a great background in that. James, any parting comments on this one, and how can people get in touch with you and learn what you're up to and meet up at the show?
So great points from Michael there. Looking forward to meeting him at InfoComm. Just a reminder that to our listeners that Steve and I have that little fun contest going. 5 programmers, you can be a guest. If you get Steve and I's selfie there, that's even more points for you. So definitely don't forget that. You can always find me on social, AV_James King on Twitter, LinkedIn, anywhere HEPMA is. Again, Google me, you'll find me.
And make sure that you visit the HEPMA booth, because you're going to see James and a lot of other people that we talk about on the show. And don't forget the Ask the Programmer stickers. We'll have those in hand. So make sure you come see us for those, and we'll be looking to connect with you. For me, you can reach me at Steve Greenblatt on social media. As Mike said, our company, Control Concepts, at controlconcepts.net. And Please continue to listen and let us know what you think of the show. Ratings, reviews, sharing your favorite episode, letting us know if you want to be a guest. We want to hear from you. So please reach out and let us know. And please stop us if you see us at InfoComm. It would mean a lot to us to know that our listeners are out there, and we like to meet people in person, and get a selfie, and we'll post that with the Ask the Programmer hashtag. We'd really like to build our audience in that regard too. And with that, this has been Ask the Programmer.